The objective of the labor inspection is to further strengthen the implementation of the visitorial and enforcement powers under the Labor Code as renumbered towards securing a higher level of compliance with labor laws and standards and ensuring continuity and sustainability of compliance at workplaces. For this purpose, the Department of Labor and Employment delegates this function to the regional offices with the issuance of a list of labor inspectors who are given the authority of conduct inspection, which covers all private establishments, including their branches and workplaces in the regions. The regional offices, through the labor inspectors, enforce labor laws and social legislation through the conduct of routine inspection, complaint inspection, and occupational safety and health investigation. Upon the discretion of the Secretary, special inspections may be conducted as may be deemed necessary. With the provision for mobile devices and gadgets, the DOLE developed an inspection management information system. An important feature of the system is data capture and transmittal from the field in real time, as an electronic checklist is filled up through the use of mobile devices and gadgets. Data are instantly available for viewing and processing to generate reports, statistics, and summons, including real-time monitoring of decent work indicators based on the country's decent work profile. The TAV, or Technical and Advisory Visit, aims to provide assistance to the micro-establishments, or establishments that have 1 to 9 employees, to be sustainable, productive, and competitive. It also aims to transition our micro-establishments to the formal economy that is profitable, while also complying with our labor laws and occupational safety and health standards. There are different ways or modalities to avail TAV. First is the online method. Establishments can enroll in the self-paced technical and advisory modules through our learning management system. For establishments that opted to go with online, they must accomplish the modules within 1 month from the time they registered. Second is on-site. The DOLE regional, field, and provincial offices conduct on-site or face-to-face orientation for the technical and advisory services, wherein micro-establishments are invited to attend. Third is hybrid setup. Establishments can enroll in on-site sessions and attend virtual meetings or webinars using various online platforms like MS Teams, Viber, Skype, Zoom, or Google Meet. The establishment report system was created to streamline the documents and reports required from establishments in the private sector. Several administrative requirements will be submitted through this site as a central platform. Through this system, employers no longer need to physically submit establishment reports to DOLE, since reportorial requirements can be completed remotely through the ERS. There are various types of report that can be submitted through the establishment report system. These are telecommuting report, job displacement report, flexible work, 13th month report, and employer's work accident or illness report. The establishment report system ensured the safety of employees of DOLE and its clients by minimizing the risk of contracting the COVID-19, since the need for physical contact has been removed in this process. The objective of the labor inspection is to further strengthen the implementation of the visitorial and enforcement powers under the Labor Code as renumbered, towards securing a higher level of compliance with labor laws and standards and ensuring continuity and sustainability of compliance at workplaces. For this purpose, the Department of Labor and Employment delegates this function to the regional offices with the issuance of a list of labor inspectors who are given the authority of conduct inspection, which covers all private establishments, including their branches and workplaces in the regions. The regional offices, through the labor inspectors, enforce labor laws and social legislation through the conduct of routine inspection, complaint inspection, and occupational safety and health investigation. Upon the discretion of the Secretary, special inspections may be conducted as may be deemed necessary. With the provision for mobile devices and gadgets, the DOLE developed an inspection management information system. An important feature of the system is data capture and transmittal from the field in real time, as an electronic checklist is filled up through the use of mobile devices and gadgets. Data are instantly available for viewing and processing to generate reports, statistics, and summons, including real-time monitoring of decent work indicators based on the country's decent work profile. The TAV, or Technical and Advisory Visit, aims to provide assistance to the micro-establishments, or establishments that have 1 to 9 employees, to be sustainable, productive, and competitive. It also aims to transition our micro-establishments to the formal economy that is profitable, while also complying with our labor laws and occupational safety and health standards. There are different ways or modalities to avail TAV. First is the online method. Establishments can enroll in the self-paced technical and advisory modules through our learning management system. For establishments that opted to go with online, they must accomplish the modules within 1 month from the time they registered. Second is on-site. The DOLE regional, field, and provincial offices conduct on-site or face-to-face orientation for the technical and advisory services, wherein micro-establishments are invited to attend. Third is hybrid setup. Establishments can enroll in on-site sessions and attend virtual meetings or webinars using various online platforms like MS Teams, Viber, Skype, Zoom, or Google Meet. The establishment report system was created to streamline the documents and reports required from establishments in the private sector. Several administrative requirements will be submitted through this site as a central platform. Through this system, employers no longer need to physically submit establishment reports to DOLE, since reportorial requirements can be completed remotely through the ERS. There are various types of report that can be submitted through the establishment report system. These are telecommuting report, job displacement report, flexible work, 13th month report, and employer's work accident or illness report. The establishment report system ensured the safety of employees of Dole and its clients by minimizing the risk of contracting the COVID-19, since the need for physical contact has been removed in this process. The objective of the labor inspection is to further strengthen the implementation of the visitorial and enforcement powers under the Labor Code as renumbered, towards securing a higher level of compliance with labor laws and standards and ensuring continuity and sustainability of compliance at workplaces. For this purpose, the Department of Labor and Employment delegates this function to the regional offices with the issuance of a list of labor inspectors who are given the authority of conduct inspection, which covers all private establishments, including their branches and workplaces in the regions. The regional offices, through the labor inspectors, enforce labor laws and social legislation through the conduct of routine inspection, complaint inspection, and occupational safety and health investigation. Upon the discretion of the Secretary, special inspections may be conducted as may be deemed necessary. With the provision for mobile devices and gadgets, the DOLE developed an inspection management information system. An important feature of the system is data capture and transmittal from the field in real time, as an electronic checklist is filled up through the use of mobile devices and gadgets. Data are instantly available for viewing and processing to generate reports, statistics, and summons, including real-time monitoring of decent work indicators based on the country's decent work profile. The TAV, or Technical and Advisory Visit, aims to provide assistance to the micro-establishments, or establishments that have 1 to 9 employees, to be sustainable, productive, and competitive. It also aims to transition our micro-establishments to the formal economy that is profitable, while also complying with our labor laws and occupational safety and health standards. There are different ways or modalities to avail TAV. First is the online method. Establishments can enroll in the self-paced technical and advisory modules through our learning management system. For establishments that opted to go with online, they must accomplish the modules within 1 month from the time they registered. Second is on-site. The DOLE regional, field, and provincial offices conduct on-site or face-to-face orientation for the technical and advisory services, wherein micro-establishments are invited to attend. Third is hybrid setup. Establishments can enroll in on-site sessions and attend virtual meetings or webinars using various online platforms like MS Teams, Viber, Skype, Zoom, or Google Meet. The establishment report system was created to streamline the documents and reports required from establishments in the private sector. Several administrative requirements will be submitted through this site as a central platform. Through this system, employers no longer need to physically submit establishment reports to DOLE, since reportorial requirements can be completed remotely through the ERS. There are various types of report that can be submitted through the establishment report system. These are telecommuting report, job displacement report, flexible work, 13th month report, and employer's work accident or illness report. The establishment report system ensures the safety of employees of Dole and its clients by minimizing the risk of contracting the COVID-19, since the need for physical contact has been removed in this process.
Magandang hapon po sa ating Facebook Live participants, sa ating mga tagapanood at mga taga-subaybay. Since today po ay February 14, kayo po ay babatiin ko ng isang mapagmahal at masayang Valentine's Day. Kamusta po ang inyong Valentine's Day so far? Kung ako po ang inyong tatanungin, masaya po ako dahil nasa episode 2 na tayo ng ating season 2 ng Webinar Wednesdays. Ang Webinar Wednesdays po ay hatid sa inyo ng Bureau of Working Conditions ng Department of Labor and Employment. Ang topic po natin ngayong hapon ay pinamagatang What's New? It's the New Service Charge Rules. Ako po si Kay Kapupus, ang inyong host at moderator para sa ating episode ngayong araw. Dahil po today ay Happy Hearts Day, we hope that you will listen with your hearts today. Kaya naman po, bago ang lahat, let us first begin with a prayer.
Let us bow our head and put ourselves in the holiness of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Dear Almighty and ever-loving God, we glorify and thank your name. You have showered us with so much blessings, and your presence continuously remind us of your faithfulness and guidance. May we humbly ask you to shower our speaker today of your greatest inspiration, so that he may share the most of his knowledge, his field of expertise, and to his respective topics. May we also absorb the invaluable knowledge, experiences, and put it into practice that we may learn today. Your infinite blessing would mean the success of this webinar. May we be a living witnesses of your genuine love through the enactment of the knowledge acquired through this activity. We ask this in the name of your Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. Amen.
Hello to our Facebook Live participants. Pa-heart react naman po sa ating 228 viewers. Wow! We encourage our participants to please share this Facebook Live and use the hashtag Webinar Wednesdays. Pwede nyo rin po itong i-share sa inyong mga colleague, mga kaibigan or kaibigan, and family members para mas marami pa po ang magkaroon ng bagong kaalaman. Also, please follow our Facebook page, BWC1949, para maging updated po kayo sa mga issuances, announcements, and activities na inilalabas ng Bureau at ng Department. Please also be reminded that for questions and inquiries, maaari nyo pong gamitin ang comment section sa ating Facebook Live. Ang inyo pong mga comments ay pagsasama-samahin po namin at ito po ay sasagutin ng ating resource speaker after ng kanyang lecture. So hindi ko na po patatagalin pa. Before po tayo mag-proceed sa ating topic, alamin po muna natin kung ano ang functions, services, at programs na meron ang Bureau. Narito po ang maikling video presentation na inihanda po namin para sa inyo.
The Bureau of Working Conditions is mandated to focus on performing policy and program development and performing advisory functions for the Department in the administration and enforcement of laws relating to labor standards. Specifically, the BWC develops and prescribes labor standards, policies, programs, and devices relative to its administration and enforcement. It also exercises technical and functional supervision over the DOLE regional offices as they conduct administration and enforcement activities in the respective regions. The Bureau also conducts research in aid of safety standards, policy programs, measures and device development on labor standards. And lastly, the Bureau provides knowledge and information services on labor standards data, programs, and enforcement activities. There are 5 flagship programs of the Bureau, namely Labor Inspection, Technical and Advisory Visit, Policy and Program Development, Monitoring of Programs such as Construction Safety and Health Program, Technical Safety Inspection. And the last flagship program is the Case Management. The Labor Inspection Program ensures that private sector establishments employing workers comply with the general labor standards, occupational safety and health standards, and other social legislations intended to safeguard the rights of workers to just and humane conditions at work. This is in line with the visitorial and enforcement power of the Secretary of Labor and Employment under Articles 128 and 129 of the Labor Code of the Philippines, and it is the flagship program of the BWC for ensuring the continuity and sustainability of compliance in all workplaces. Small, medium, and large establishments under the sector's hazardous work, employing children, construction projects, Philippine registered ships in domestic shipping, fishing vessels, contracting or subcontracting arrangements, subject of SENA referral, anonymous complaint, and request for inspection, and other establishments as may be determined by the Secretary of Labor and Employment are all covered in the Labor Inspection Program. The Technical and Advisory Visit, or the TAV program, aims to build the capacity of community-based micro-establishments towards sustainable compliance with labor standards. It seeks to facilitate easier access to government programs and services instrumental to addressing their compliance gaps, as well as to provide livelihood assistance and productivity training to further capacitate micro-establishments in improving their business operations. There are various training modules offered in TAB, namely General Labor Standards, Occupational Safety and Health Standards, Child and Family Welfare, Productivity Toolbox, and Visit Checklist and Action Plan. The Technical Safety Inspection is the inspection for the purpose of safety determination of boilers, pressure vessels, internal combustion engines, electrical installations, elevators, hoisting equipments, and other mechanical equipments. The Bureau is also responsible for the development of policies and programs. The Bureau takes the lead in the formulation and assurance of timely and relevant policies, guidelines, and advisories relating to general labor standards, occupational safety and health standards, and other social legislations that promote the rights at work, improve working conditions, and guide employers and workers in the private sector. There are other various programs that are handled by the Bureau of Working Conditions: Construction Safety and Health Program, Review and Evaluation of Technical Plans, Processing of Certificate of Appearance of PNEs and PEEs, Work Alert Reporting, Processing of Certificate of No Pending Case, Disposition of Labor Standard Appealed Cases, General Labor Standards, Occupational Safety and Health Queries, and Requests for Inspection-related data, Medical Services or Assistance to DOLE personnel. And the BWC is also a member of various committees like NCACL, IACAT, LI Capacity Building Committee, Safety and Health Committee, Mental Health Program, and many more. The Bureau envisions well-guided employers and workers committed to a safe, healthful, and productive work environment, adaptive to industry trends and developments, and equitably enjoying the gains of joint endeavors.
Ayan. Sana po ay nalinawan tayo sa mga programa at services ng Bureau of Working Conditions. Para po ipaliwanag sa atin kung ano ang nilalaman ng new service charge rules, narito po ngayon ang Director ng Bureau of Working Conditions. Everyone, I am pleased to introduce our speaker, Director Alvin B. Curada.
Salamat, Kay, and welcome to the webinar of the Bureau of Working Conditions. I hope you're all doing good po and masaya dahil Valentine's ngayon. Sa Department of Labor and Employment po, ang tawag po namin na hindi Valentine's Day but araw po ng pagmamahal sa mga stakeholders po ng Department of Labor and Employment. So can we start, Kay? So I'll be presenting po itong pinakabagong issuance ng Department of Labor and Employment tungkol po sa service charge. Ito po ang Department Order 242 Series of 2024. As a background lang po, in 2019, in August 7, 2019, nagkaroon po tayo ng batas. Ito po yung Republic Act 11360. Next slide. Ito po ay pinirmahan noong August 7, 2019 that essentially po altered yung sharing arrangement under Article 6 of the Labor Code. Dati po kasi 85% ang workers, 15% ang management, but with the passage po of RA 11360 in August 7, 2019, inalis na po yun and lahat po ng collective service charges ay pupunta na po sa mga empleyado. Kaakibat po nung pagpirma ng Republic Act number 11360, ang Department of Labor and Employment po ay nagkaroon ng issuance. Ito yung implementing rules and regulations po ng Republic Act 11360. Ito naman po ang Department Order number 206, a series of 2019 na inilabas po ng Department noong November 19, 2019. In the course of the implementation po ng Department Order number 206, nagkaroon po na maraming mga feedback sa iba-ibang stakeholders. May feedback po yung employers group, may feedback yung labor groups po natin. And the most prominent po na nakita natin ay yung issue po nila na paglalagay sa Department Order number 206 ng phrase na under the direct employ of the covered establishment. Ang implication po nito, yung paglalagay ng under the direct employ of the covered establishment, ay nawalan po ng benefit from the collective service charge yung mga deployed workers po ng contractors. Ang tawag siguro po natin na karaniwang alam po natin ay yung mga agency hired workers, mga workers po ng contractors, saka mga non-regular workers ay hindi na po makakasama sa pag-share po ng collective service charge because of the inclusion of the phrase under the direct employ of the covered establishment. In the course of the implementation also of Department Order 206, marami pong mga voluntary arbitration cases na dumating sa Department of Labor and Employment. Karamihan po dito ay involving yung ating mga hotels and other service-oriented establishment na organized. Kasi isa sa mga provision po under sa Department Order 206 ay yung pagpapalit po ng last phrase ng non-diminution, yung pagpapalit po ng collective bargaining agreement. Ito po ay napunta na sa those receiving the benefits. Ang sinasabi po nila, when that phrase was omitted in the Department Order 206, in effect po, yung mga managers previously receiving service charges ay na-impair po yung kanilang contract. Especially po yung collective bargaining agreement that also resulted to diminution of benefits. And this, ang isa pa pong issue nila is doon the exclusion ng managerial employees. Ang sabi po kasi sa batas, excluded yung managerial. Sa Department Order 206, excluded din yung managerial. Pero nagkakaroon po ng mga debate, nagkaroon ng hindi pagkakaunawaan, nagkaroon ng maraming katanungan. Sino po ba yung managerial employees? Ah, ito po ay isa sa mga tiningnan ng Technical Working Group in the present department order, considering po yung decision ng Supreme Court in at least 2 cases na iba-iba ang level ng managerial. Merong first level managerial, second level, and third level managerial employees. So kung gano'n na multi-level pala yung managerial employees, how among those levels are not covered by the service charge law. And the last one po ay yung nabanggit ko na po kanina, yung coverage ng mga managers. Noong po kasing Article 96 pa, dahil dun sa 85-15 arrangement, yung 15% po na pumupunta sa management, ito po ay nag-govern ng nagkaroon po ng mga collective bargaining agreements na yung mga manager makakatanggap ng share sa service charges base doon sa 15% na nakukolekta ng management. But when the law was passed in 2019, ang sinasabi exclusion of managers, ang interpretation po na marami is that hindi na po covered yung mga managers. So that resulted nga po doon sa mga voluntary arbitration cases, and we will discuss further itong aspeto po ng impairment of contracts and diminution of benefits. In the course of the implementation po from 2019 to 2023, the department po, kasama po yung ating mga regional offices, provincial and field offices, and yung amin po mga labor inspectors, were able to ascertain around 98.63 compliant establishments na na-inspect po natin. From the period 2019 to 2023, around 252,000 establishments were covered by labor inspection. Ito po ay service-oriented establishments collecting service charges, of which around 98.63 are compliant. So, mataas-taas din po yung compliance rate. In fact po, in all the 16 regions, above 95% po yung compliance rate po ng ating mga service-oriented establishments, including hotels and restaurants. So in November 2023 po, dahil po sa feedback na natanggap po ng Department of Labor and Employment, sa mga nakuha po natin ng mga input during tripartite consultation, kami po ay humarap sa National Tripartite Industrial Peace Council, and we sought yung approval ng members ng NTIPC for a possible review ng 206.19. Kung totoo ba yung sinasabi ng mga sectors, how do we treat yung mga feedback that we got. Eventually po, the NTIPC approved our proposal to review yung Department Order 206-2019. Pag sinabi po natin NTIPC, ito po ang pinaka-highest governing body, policy governing body ng department, tripartite in nature. The Secretary of Labor po chairs the council, and then meron po tayong members from the employer group as well as the labor groups po natin. In the first week of December, the Technical Working Group po reviewed the department order. Tiningnan din po ng Technical Working Group yung mga legislative discussions, and plinat po namin yung mga inputs, comments from the different sectors. And considering po yung ganong klaseng review process, yung first draft po ng proposed amendment ng Department Order 206 was presented to the Tripartite Executive Committee. Ito po ay composed ng labor groups, employer groups, and the Department of Labor and Employment on December 11, 2023. There was a subsequent meeting to further discuss the proposed provisions, and this happened po on December 27, 2023. And after po ng TEC meeting, we presented po yung mga findings, mga feedback ng members of the TEC to the tripartite committee on legislative matters within the Department of Labor and Employment. And on 24 January 2024, the technical working group presented the first draft of the department order to the National Tripartite Industrial Peace Council. So bumalik po kami sa NTIPC para i-present what happened during the review, what the technical working group found, and what are the recommendations and the technical working group. It was during this meeting po on January 24, 2024 that NTIPC approved approved the recommendation of the technical working group. Hence, nagkaroon po tayo ng Department Order 242 Series of 2024 or the revised implementing rules and regulations of Republic Act number 11360. So ngayon, isa-isahin na po natin yung mga provisions. Mag-umpisa po tayo sa Article 96. As I've mentioned po, yung Article 96 po natin, nakalagay dito yung sharing arrangement, 85 to the covered workers, 15% to the management, and the 85% share ng ating mga manggagawa, sabi po ng Article 96 ng Labor Code, should be equally distributed among the covered workers. And ito po ay na-reflect din sa Section 3, Rule 6, Book 3 ng Omnibus Rules Implementing the Labor Code na sinasabi, while the 15% ay ibabahagi po sa ating mga manggagawa, the 15% po na pupunta sa management ay sasagot daw po sa mga nabasag, nawawala mga gamit sa mga service-oriented establishments katulad ng hotels and restaurants, and posible po itong ma-distribute sa managerial employees at the discretion po of the management. So ito po ang nakalagay sa ating labor code. In addition po, meron po tayong Section 6 and 7 pa of the Omnibus Rules relating to Article 96. Sinasabi natin na while nagkaroon ng pagbabago sa Article 96, bago ang Labor Code, dapat po walang diminution of benefit. So, ipaulit-ulit po natin as a matter of principle yung non-diminution of benefits na dapat whenever may mga bago pong policy ang Department of Labor Employment na nag-grant or in effect remove some benefits, dapat po walang diminution o wala pong pagkawala, pagkabawas ng mga benepisyo na existing po na natatanggap ng ating mga manggagawa. Nakalagay din po sa Section 7 na notwithstanding itong provision on 8515 arrangements noong na Article 96 na Labor Code, pwede pa rin mag-agree yung mga manggagawa ng sharing arrangement under Section 7 of the Omnibus Rules, which provides na dapat walang prejudice to existing future and collective bargaining agreements. So, nakita po natin sa Labor Code provisions yung 8515 sharing arrangement, yung pong pag-i-emphasize ng Department of Labor and Employment on non-diminution of benefits, as well as yung pagiging open po for future collective bargaining agreements. As I've mentioned, in 2019, nagkaroon po ng Republic Act 11360. Inalis po yung sharing arrangement. Wala na po yung 8515. Since 2019, ang mangyayari na po, lahat ng natanggap po ng mga collected service charge ay pupunta po sa covered workers po natin, except managerial employees. Kasama din po sa batas, sa RA 11360, yung dapat po na hindi po na-diminish yung benefits or non-diminution of benefits, and at the same time, ino-honor po ng Republic Act 11360 yung mga existing collective bargaining agreements. However po, nung nagkaroon ng Department Order 206, nagkaroon po ng minor changes ang definition ng covered employees by in the introduction of the phrase under the direct employ of the covered establishment. So again, sinasabi po natin sa Article 96, lahat ng manggagawa ay makakatanggap ng 85%. Dito naman po sa RA 11360, sinasabi, lahat ng collected service charge ay matatanggap ng manggagawa. But yung IRR po, yung Department Order 206, ay while sinasabi lahat makakatanggap, sinabi po niya na hindi kasama yung mga agency hired workers, contractors, workers, because of the introduction of the phrase under the direct employ of the covered establishment. And also po yung distribution of service charges, sa batas po nakalagay na nothing in this act shall be construed to diminish, among others po, benefits under the collective bargaining agreements. Pero po sa IRR in the Department Order 206, ang sa last phrase, instead of benefits under, among others, collective bargaining agreements, ay including those already receiving the benefit of sharing in the service charges. So nawala po yung intention of the law on benefits provided under collective bargaining agreements. So upon review po ng technical working group, ito po yung 4 na issues na nakita ng technical working group, and ito po ay ina-address dito po sa revised implementing rules and regulation ng service charge law o yung Department Order 242. Una po, yung sinasabi po natin kanina na pagkakawala po among the covered employees ng agency hired workers and non-regular workers. And then yung exclusion of managerial employees. And then when we exclude managerial employees naman po, how do we treat naman mga supervisory employees naman? Kasama ba sila o hindi kasama? And then yung extent of entitlement. From among the covered employees po natin, sino ba talaga ang tatanggap sa kanila ng share from the collected service charges? In the course of the review po of the technical working group, ang una pong nakita ng technical working group is the concern on discrimination. With the introduction of the phrase under the direct employ of the employer, nakita po natin na aside from non-receipt of the collected service charge, yung pagka-exclude po ng non-regular, agency hired workers, and contractors workers ay nagiging discriminatory po, na-discriminate po sila considering na sila naman po kahit non-regular, sila po ay agency hired or contractor, katulong po sila sa pagbibigay ng serbisyo sa mga customers, yet hindi po sila nabigyan ng collected service charge. So the technical working group found it discriminatory aside from na-deprive po sila ng kanilang share from the collected service charges. So the recommendation of the technical working group, which was approved by the National Tripartite Industrial Peace Council, is that agency hired workers, contractors, deployed workers, and non-regular workers are included in the covered employees. Hence, pag binasa nyo po yung section on covered employees under Department Order 242, binalik po natin yung phrase or yung definition ng covered employees. We aligned it po with the legislative intent of RA 11360. Ang nakalagay na po ay all employees except managerial employees as defined herein, regardless of their position, designations, or employment status, and irrespective of the method by which their wages are paid, are covered by the service charge law. Kasama po sila sa makakatanggap ng collected service charges. Ang isa pong tiningnan naman ng technical working group ay yung aspeto po ng mga managerial employees na nabigyan ng share ng service charges under the collective bargaining agreement. Ang nakalagay po kasi sa batas ay nothing in this act shall be construed to diminish existing benefits under, among other collective bargaining agreements. Pero katulad na nabanggit ko po kanina, ang nakalagay po sa Department Order 206 ay including those already receiving the benefit of sharing in the service charges. Hence, ang interpretation po dito, base po doon sa mga nakarating na mga kaso sa Department of Labor and Employment is that tinanggalan po ng mga benefits yung mga managerial employees notwithstanding valid and existing collective bargaining agreements. Yung pong pagkakaroon ng collective bargaining agreements po natin ay protected po by the Constitution. Ito po ay protektado under the non-impairment clause of the Constitution. So whenever there's a valid collective bargaining agreement, the state should not issue laws, regulations that would impair contracts o masisira po yung agreement to the parties to the contract, katulad ng collective bargaining agreement. And as a result po ng pagkatanggal ng benefits ng mga managerial employees previously receiving service charges, consequently po, nabawasan din po yung kanilang benefit. And that also resulted to diminution of benefits. Yung diminution of benefits po, yung non-diminution of benefits, again, is a labor code principle that prohibit po yung pagbabawas, unilateral removal of benefits previously enjoyed ng ating mga manggagawa. Hence, the technical working group po recommended during the tripartite committee that the exclusion of managerial employees po who are receiving service charge through collective bargaining agreement constitutes impairment of contracts and diminution of benefit. Kaya po pag binasa niyo po yung Article 24 yung Department Order 242, the department also aligned yung provision with Republic Act 11360 at binalik po natin yung phrase na nothing in this rule shall be construed to diminish existing benefits under the present law, company policies, and collective bargaining agreements. Ang isa pa pong issue na katulad na nabanggit ko kanina ay sino ba kasi nakita niyo po kanina sinabi except managerial employees. So tiningnan po ng technical working group, sino po ba ang managerial employees? Ito lang po ba yung manager talaga? O ito po ba ay kasama yung supervisor o yung mga first line managers, middle managers, kasama po ba? Under Article 82 po, ang definition ng managerial employees, marami po yan, but sa pinakadulo sinasabi po, and to other officers or members of the managerial staff. Yung managerial staff po na ito ay under po sa ating maraming jurisprudence, kasama po dito yung mga supervisory employees, including po yung members of the managerial staff and confidential employees. And then we also relate it with Rule 6, Book 3 ng Omnibus Rules. Tingnan natin ano ba ang definition ng managerial employees. Among others, ang kasama po dito yung function ng managerial employees ay yung effective recommendation of managerial action. And then sa separate chapter po ng Labor Code, nasa Labor Relations chapter ng Labor Relations Book po ng Labor Code, specifically po under Article 219, nakita po natin na ang definition of supervisory employees naman, including among others, ay effective recommendation also of managerial action. So, in effect po, kasama sa exclusion ng managerial employees, ang supervisory employees din. Hence, we recommended and the NTIPC approved that supervisory employees are excluded from the coverage of the law. Dahil dun po sa nabanggit ko kanina na definition under Article 82 and then under the Omnibus Rules in relation to Article 219 of the Labor Code. Ang susunod pong issue ay sino ba ang hence na-exclude na po yung managers, ano? And then, kanina, upon examination of the provisions of the different definition of managerial employees, nakita na rin natin na hindi rin kasama ang supervisory. Hence, ang natitira na lang ay rank and file employees na lang po ang makakatanggap ng um, collected service charge. But lahat ba ng rank and file ay tatanggap ng service charge? Or yun lang po nagpo-provide ng direct service to customers? Para po malinawan yung technical working group, sila po ay bumalik doon sa journal as well as records of the Senate nung ito po ay pinag-usapan ng ating mga senador. And we found po the intent of RA 11360 is only to cover rank and file employees providing direct service to customers. So dapat po i-examine po ng iba-ibang service-oriented establishments kung sino po sa kanilang mga manggagawa ang providing direct service to the customer. Providing direct service, ito po ay in relation sa ano bang serbisyo ang pinoprovide. Kung ang serbisyo ang pinoprovide ay coffee halimbawa, pagbibenta ng coffee, pagsiserve ng coffee, titingnan mo who prepared ng coffee at sino nagsiserve ng coffee. Yun lang po yung intention of na i-cover kasi under po sa deliberation, ang sinasabi po, only rank and file employees providing direct service to customers are entitled to a share from the collected service charge. Ang ating pong service charge ay hindi po ito, kung ang isa pong covered rank and file ay pumasok uh, 30 days a month kung wala pong pahinga and wala po siyang absent, wala pong late, full po niya makukuha yung share ng service charge. Pero hindi po sa lahat ng pagkakataon ay ganun po. Whenever the worker absents himself or herself from work, or na late, or naka-leave of absence, ito po ay, ang matatanggap po niyang share from the collected service charge ay proportionate lang po doon sa mga araw at oras na pinasok po niya. And yung mga collected service charge, katulad po ng provision po natin on wage payment, dapat po every 2 weeks, not exceeding 16 days yung pagbibigay ng collected service charge sa ating mga covered po na mga manggagawa, yung pong providing direct service to customers. And then baka po maging issue din yung increase ng minimum wage dahil po kaka-increase lang ng minimum wage in most regions. May mga regions na lang po ata na merong existing wage deliberation but almost all regions have issued yung kanilang mga respective wage orders. Kung ang natatanggap po na collected service charge ay 40 pesos, hindi po ibig sabihin na yan na po yung wage increase. Wala pong kinalaman yung service charge doon po sa wage increase na itinakda ng Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board. For example po, in hotels in Manila, ang isang food server or waiter or barista ay currently receiving 30 pesos per day na share from the collected service charge. And then nagtaas po ng 30 pesos ang RTWPB and NCR. Hindi po sasabihin ng employer na yung nakolekta mong service charge ay yan na rin po yung increase in minimum wage. I-increase po yung minimum wage and then in addition to that, dapat lahat po ng entitled workers, rank and file workers providing direct service to customer ay makakatanggap pa ng additional share from the collected service charge. Other than the prescribed wage increase by the regional tripartite and productivity boards. Sa usapan po na kung sino ang entitled na mga empleyado, sa usapan po ng diminution, sa usapan po ng impairment of contract, ini-empower po ng Department of Labor Employment yung mga bipartite mechanism sa workplace, yung grievance machinery, Labor and Management Committee, and other bipartite mechanism po sa workplace na pag-usapan ang issue bago po ito bago po sila pumunta sa tamang agency within the Department of Labor Employment. Kung unionized po yung establishment, dapat po sila ay mag-usap muna sa grievance machinery or other bipartite mechanism po na nakalagay sa kanilang collective bargaining agreement. Kung ito naman po ay unorganized establishment, handa po tumulong yung Regional Conciliation and Mediation Board as well as yung mga desk officers po ng DOLE Regional, Provincial, and Field Offices para po ma-resolve yung issue. So ganun po yung ating mekanismo for organized and unorganized. Again, we reiterate po na yung non-diminution of benefits na with the issuance po ng Department Order 242, dapat po walang mawala ng benepisyo previously enjoyed, and the Department Order 242 po supersedes or ano na po, sinupersede niya na po yung Department Order 206 series of 2019 or yung previous implementing rules and regulation po ng service charge law. The revised implementing rules of the service charge law or yung Department Order 242 was issued on February 1, 2024. It was published po in the Manila Times and the Philippine Daily Inquirer on February 3, 2024. And the new department order po, the revised implementing rules and regulations will take effect on February 18, 2024. O ngayong pong linggo, mag-take effect yung Department Order 242. So maraming salamat po for joining. I hope po I was able to give clarification and enlightenment dito po sa bagong issuance ng Department of Labor and Employment.
Thank you po, Director Alvin, for the meaningful and informative discussion on the new or revised service charge rules. Ngayon po ay sasagot na tayo ng mga questions submitted by our participants. Para po sa mga may additional pang katanungan, maaari nyo pong gamitin ang ating comment section. Doon nyo po ilalagay yung inyo pong mga questions. So for the first question, we have, ang service charge po ba, pwede po ba yun after 3 months pa daw ibibigay sa mga bagong employee? Since yun daw po ang house rules nung kanilang company.
Mukhang hindi pwede na i-delay yung payment ng service charge. Ang sabi po natin dito ay whenever service charge are collected at yung mga manggagawa naman ay entitled doon sa na-collectang service charge, ibibigay po iyon kung naabutan po siya ng distribution period, halimbawa every 16 and 30, pumasok po siya ng 15, yung proportionate share po niya ibibigay on the 16th. And then kung tuloy-tuloy po siyang pumasok ng 17 to 30 and bigayan na naman sa 30, yung share po niya from the collected service charge from 17 to 30 halimbawa ay ibibigay na rin po sa kanya. Hindi po ito katulad ng service incentive leave na ini-enjoy mo some other time. Hindi rin po ito katulad ng iba pang benepisyo na nakaangkla sa serbisyo. Immediately po dapat ibigay sa mga covered workers po natin.
Okay, malinaw po. Immediately, once na mag-start si employee, dapat pong ibigay ang service charge. Ang next question po natin, how about construction company? Covered din po ba ang mga construction workers ng service charge?
Unfortunately, itong service charge po kasi ang contemplation ay para lang po sa mga establishmento na kumukolekta ng service charge. Siguro po mahilig po tayo pumunta sa mga restaurant or sa mga hotel or amusement parks. Sa dulo po ng resibo, kung ito po yung resibo, nasa dulo po yung nakalagay na service charge. Whenever po establishment collecting service charge lang, yan po ang ipapamahagi. Ang alam ko, wala pong service charge sa construction industry. Ito po ay karaniwan sa mga hotels, karaniwan po sa mga restaurants and other parks, spa probably, nandoon po yung service charge. Kaya hindi ko po masasabi na covered po yung mga construction worker kasi wala pong service charge sa construction industry.
Okay po, Director. For our next question po, paano po ang mga security under ng agency? Pasok po ba sila or makaka-receive din po ba sila ng service charge?
Mahaba yung discussion ng inclusion ng mga security guards. But nung binalikan ng technical working group yung intent of legislative intent of RA 11360, we found na ang intention po na i-cover ay yung empleyado who are providing direct service. Halimbawa po sa isang coffee shop, yung nagsiserve po sa inyo, yung barista probably, shall receive a share from the collected service charge. Pero po yung mga guard po na opening doors might not be providing direct service kasi ang service po ng isang coffee shop ay pagbibenta and pagbibigay ng coffee. And security service po is not contributing to the delivery of direct service. Pero kung meron pong mga, I would understand siguro kay na may mga security guard din na kulang siguro yung taga-serve, tumutulong sa pagsiserve ng mga customer. Kung ito po ay nangyayari, they may be entitled ng collected service charge. Pero kung security guard po is limited yung kanyang function to ensuring security and order ng establishment but not really on providing service relative do sa preparation ng coffee, pagsiserve sa customer sa ating example, hindi po sila covered ng service charge law.
Okay po, Director. Bale, dapat po ay sila ay directly providing service related na doon sa establishment. Ang pang-apat na question po natin, doon sa existing na nakaka-receive ng benefits like managerial employees at supervisory employees, ano po ang magiging treatment ng distribution ng service charge para po sa kanila?
Katulad na nabanggit ko kanina and pursuant to the non-diminution, kung ito po ay organized pursuant to the non-impairment clause, and kung ito naman po ay unorganized pursuant doon sa non-diminution principle under the labor code, tuloy-tuloy po sila makakatanggap yung managerial employees as well as yung supervisory employees. But with the enactment po nung RA 11360 with the effectivity ng Department Order 242, probably po yung sa mga, especially po sa mga unorganized, baka po yung mga bagong entrants to the company yung mga bagong hire lang, hindi covered ng collective bargaining agreements, o yung mga bagong supervisory employees sa isang unorganized establishment, may be excluded from further coverage ng service charge law. Pero yung mga existing na nakakatanggap noon, tuloy-tuloy silang makakatanggap pa rin.
Okay po. Basta existing, patuloy pong makakatanggap. Panglimang question po natin, how about kung magkaroon po sila ng collective bargaining agreement? Sila po bang mga supervisory, kung magkaroon po ng collective bargaining agreement yung mga supervisory employees or future collective bargaining agreement or existing CBA na may indication po na sila ay included, how do we treat po yung ganoong klaseng provision sa kanilang collective bargaining agreement?
Siguro bigyan natin ng scenario para mas masagot natin. Mahirap yung tanong, ano? Halimbawa, meron kang collective bargaining agreement. You're about to renew and renegotiate the economic aspect of the collective bargaining agreement. Nag-usap kayo ng management. Ito ay rank and file po ito na collective bargaining agreement, ano? Kasi hindi po pwedeng mag-organize yung mga managerial employees. Wala po silang right to self-organization and collective bargaining. Under po sa ating labor relations book ng labor code, ang kasama lang po ay mga supervisory as well as rank and file. na pwede po magkaroon ng collective bargaining agreement. Sa example po natin, halimbawa, rank and file employees, nag-usap sila sa management at sila po ay nag-agree. Sabi po nila na, okay, bibigyan pa rin natin yung management. We recognize na may batas na excluded sila, pero nag-usap tayo ngayon na isama pa rin natin sila. Pwede pa rin because meron po namang kaakibat na principle, yung autonomy of parties. Parties to the collective bargaining agreements are really free from stipulating provisions on their own. Sila pa ay voluntary na nagbigay sa mga managerial employees na hindi po sakop ng kanilang collective bargaining agreement. Ganon po ang treatment po nito. They may agree, pero pwede rin po silang mag-usap na sabihin nila, oh, meron ng bagong Department Order 242 ang Department of Labor Employment. Dapat ilimit na natin yung coverage ng collective bargaining agreement doon sa mga existing managers. Yung mga future managers, baka sundan na natin yung guidelines under Department Order 242. So in effect, pwede pa rin sila mag-collective bargaining agreements, ituloy yung sa existing nila na kasama yung managerial, but future managerial employees who will join the organization, they may exclude them from the coverage of the service, from the sharing of the service charge under the collective bargaining agreement.
Okay, so for our question number 6 po, Director, we have certain restaurants there are certain restaurants na nagcha-charge ng nakakabasag ng plato or baso sa customer. Meron po bang jurisprudence na sisingilin ang customer then ide-deduct po yung siguro yung nabasag po yung breakage doon sa service charge? Dati po kasi merong 15%, yung 15% po na yun ay for the breakages. Paano po yung charge noon sa customer? Tama po ba yun?
Walang jurisprudence related sa labor kung kanino i-charge yung pagkabasag ng baso. Halimbawa ngayon, Valentine's Day, pumunta ka sa hotel, excited ka siguro and mga kasama natin sa Bureau of Working Conditions na pumunta sa hotel dahil Valentine's Day, nakabasag kayo ng baso. Ang tanong, sisingilin ba kayo ng hotel? Ang mag-govern dito ay hindi labor code, but the provisions of the civil law on damages. So titingnan dito, sino ba ang may fault? Dahil siguro sa excitement mo sa Valentine's Day, nagbasag ka ng baso at plato sa isang hotel. Dahil intentional ka nagbasag ng plato, baso, ikaw ay liable from the breakage. Pero dahil yung table, yung hotel probably ay bago, makinis, so nag-slide yung baso, or you slip on the floor dahil basa, you cannot be faulted and you cannot be sued or pagbayarin ka doon sa nabasag mong baso. So titingnan who is at fault doon sa mga breakage na nangyari in the service-oriented establishment.
Okay po. So kung sino po upon determination kung sino po ang at fault. So ang question number 7 po natin, kasama po ba ang mga rank and file employees na assigned in the back or support office ay makaka-receive din po ba sila ng service charge?
Katulad ng nabanggit ko kanina and upon examination ng technical working group doon sa legislative intent ng RA 11360, nakita po namin yung intent is to cover only rank and file employees providing direct service to the customer. Hence, dito sa katanungan, yung back office support office personnel are not entitled for a share from the collected service charge.
Okay po. For our question number 8, regarding tips and service charge naman po, can employers refuse to impose or collect service charge and resort to collection of tips instead so that managers and supervisors will now be included in the distribution? Pwede daw.
Magkaiba kasi, opo. Yung tip kasi and service charge ay magkaiba, ano? Yung tip ay voluntary, yung service charge naman ay ito ay kasama na binibill sa ating mga customer. So, whenever an establishment is collecting service charges, ito ay governed ng Service Charge Law at ng Department Order 242. So, susunod siya dun sa sharing arrangement. But the tip po natin, while ito po ay kapareho ng nature ng service charge, ito po ay depende sa company policy rules and regulation kung paano po hati-hatiin. But katulad po ng service charge, theoretically, dapat rin po ito mapunta sa ating mga manggagawa. On the aspect, kasi parang maraming angle itong tanong niya, on the aspect naman na may service charge na, alisin na lang yung service charge para puro tip na lang, can the establishment withdraw yung the collection of service charge? The answer is yes. Wala namang prohibition na dapat magkubolekta ng service charge yung mga restaurant para ipamahagi sa manggagawa. Ang sabi lang ng batas, kung ikaw ay service establishment at ikaw ay nangungulekta ng service charge, dapat yung collected service charge ay papamahagi po natin sa mga covered na rank and file employees po natin.
Okay, understood po, Director. Our second to the last question, question number 9. Good afternoon po. Question, ano po ang kaibahan ngayon sa distribution ng service charge? Dati po kasi, based on total collected service charge, then it will be equally divided. Ngayon po, based on actual number of hours work, tapos equally distributed din po siya. Is there a standard formula for the computation?
Mahirap ito, no? Parang kung merong 100 pesos na collected service charge, halimbawa from February 1 or January 1 hanggang January 15, 100 pesos. Then meron kang 10 empleyado. Lahat sila ay makakatanggap ng 10 pesos. 10 pesos sila para mabuo yung 100 pesos. Pero nung sumunod na yung January 16 to January 30 halimbawa, 10 pa rin sila, pero yung isa ay nag-absent. So, yung 100 divided by 9 na lang kasi hindi mo pumasok yung isa. So, effectively, 9 lang yung nag-render ng service. So, 100 divided by 9. Ang example naman doon sa February 1 to 15 halimbawa, sa 10 na empleyado, yung 5 employees lang ang full day, and then yung iba pang 5 employees, the other 5 employees render work ng half days lang. Yung 5 na empleyado na pumasok ng full day ay full ang kanilang service charge, while yung half day lang pumasok, half day lang din ang kanilang equivalent, proportionate. Hindi ko ma-compute dito kasi kailangan meron tayong whiteboard para ma-illustrate natin yung formula. But theoretically po, ang sagot po dito in general ay dapat hindi po equal. Pag meron pong absent, may late, hindi po equal. Dapat proportionate din yung number. Hindi lang namin po, pasensya na po, hindi po namin maipakita yung actual computation. Sa susunod pong webinar namin, dapat may illustration tayo na ilagay para ma-appreciate po nila. But in the meantime po, hindi po natin maipakita, but please be guided na proportionate po yung matatanggap ng mga empleyado na may absent, may late, may vacation leave, or other leave of absence.
Sige po, Director. Next po, magpe-prepare po tayo ng computation template or ng illustration para sa kanila. Next question po, and this is our last question na rin. Medyo marami po, nagsama-sama sila.
Medyo marami,
Are the following agency employees will be covered by service charge? So may list po siya from A to I. Pwede po natin sigurong isa-isa. Pero hindi po kasi siya one size fits all na pwedeng ibibigay siya sa ganitong industry kasi depende po siya kung if nagpo-provide po siya ng direct service doon sa clients ng establishment. So,
That's correct.
um,
And then, ang isa ko mga tanong kay, yung letter B na engineering, IT, security, finance, meron ba itong mga service charge? Sa tingin ko dito, ang meron lang service charge kay ay yung F and ah, F lang ata ang may service charge. So hindi ko alam kung paano magiging entitled itong all other enumeration from the service charge. But
mm,
dito sa health club, kung ito ay nagkukolekta ng service charge, ito ay mapupunta rin sa rank and file employees. And pagtanong sa rank and file, katulad na sinabi ni Kate, titingnan din who are directly providing service.
okay. Yung Um, siguro po ito, yung number 3, if room attendant is included in the service charge, what's the sharing of the computation?
Itong,
Same po
itong
ba
room,
with,
oo. Itong room attendant naman, so siguro isipin ko hotel ito ano, and the room attendant serves yung mga customer sa mga rooms. Nagdadala siguro ng toiletries, blanket, o kung ano pa kailangan ng customer. Yung room attendance po sa isang hotel, titingnan lahat ng collected service charge at yan po ay hati-hatiin ng room attendants and other personnel providing direct service in a hotel, in a particular hotel. And then as to kung room attendant ay deployed or agency hired workers, ito po yung kagandahan ng Department Order 242 kasi blind na po yung department order o hindi na po tinitingnan ng department order 242 kung ikaw po ay regular, agency hired workers or contractors worker. Basta po ikaw ay rank and file, providing direct service to customer, kahit ikaw po ay agency hired, ikaw po ay makakatanggap from the collected service charge. Pero itong pangalawa, kay ang pest control, window cleaners ba?
opo.
Laundry, hindi ko alam kung ano itong STP operator, aircon, elevator contractors are covered by the service charge. Under po sa intent, again, binalikan po ng technical working group yung legislative intent. Mukhang hindi po sila kasama from the covered employees kahit sila po ay rank and file. Yung number 4 naman, yung F&B attendant might be food and beverage attendant. Tama ba ako? Sa
Yes
isang
po.
restaurant, ano?
Yes po, food and beverage.
So, yeah, kung ikaw ay food and beverage attendant, probably siguro ikaw ay bartender, probably ikaw ay nagsiserve ng food sa isang restaurant, sa isang hotel, and that business collects a service charge, makakatanggap ka rin kahit na ikaw ay agent sa hired workers, ikaw ay contractor workers, basta ikaw ay rank and file, providing direct service to the customers in an establishment, collecting service charges, kayo po ay makakatanggap ng share from the collected service charge. And then yung last naman, ano ba ito? Na-promote naman. Ito yung usapang promotion. If a regular rank and file is promoted to being a supervisor, to being a supervisor,
Yes po.
hindi na siya makakatanggap. Opo, hindi na po siya makakatanggap dahil po siya ay na-promote na supervisor, and supervisor po and managers are not covered by the service charge law. Yung usapan po natin na non-diminution, mag-a-apply lang po yun kung ikaw ay hanggang ngayon, ikaw pa rin ay supervisor. Kung noong Article 96 or prior to RA 11360, ikaw ay manager. Hanggang ngayon, ikaw pa rin ay manager. Doon po mag-apply yung sinabi ko na non-impairment for uh, organized na merong collective bargaining agreement. Kung unorganized naman, ikaw pa rin ay tuloy-tuloy makakatanggap pursuant to non-diminution principle under the labor code. Pero kung ikaw po ay na-promote, naturally po, mawawalan po kayo ng benepisyo, hindi po kayo mako-cover na ng service charge law po natin.
Maraming salamat po, Director Alvin. We still have more questions, but these questions will be answered by our social media
Okay.
team. Please check the comment section. Sinasagot po ng ating mga kasamahan yung inyo pong mga katanungan pa. Sa mga hindi po naka-join or nakapanood ng ating episode today, pwede po nating panoorin muli ang live stream sa BWC Facebook page. Some announcements lang po, ang BWC ay patuloy na magpapalabas ng Webinar Wednesdays para sa buwan ng Pebrero. Muli, maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat for attending today's webinar. We hope that today's topic has equipped you with the knowledge and tools to assist you in complying with labor standards. We would like to thank our director, Director Alvin Corrada, for taking the time to share his knowledge and expertise on the new, or rather revised, service charge rules. Also, the Bureau of Working Conditions team who provided us with the answers, assistance, and support for today's episode and the previous episodes. We would also like to thank them. If you have further questions, you may send us an email at ask@pwc.dole.gov.ph, or you may call the DOLE hotline. Just dial the numbers 1349. I repeat, just dial the numbers 1349. Panghuli na pong announcement, please follow our Facebook page. It's BWC 1949 para maging updated po kayo sa iba't iba pang issuances, announcements, at activities na inilalabas ng Bureau at ng Department of Labor and Employment. Thank you for joining us today. Have a great Valentine's Day. Maraming salamat po.
Para sa katanungan at karagdagang impormasyon, maaari po tayong tumawag sa DOLE Hotline 1349 o sumangguni sa mga DOLE Regional o Field Office na nakakasakop sa inyong lugar paggawa.